Hey everyone, if you're a person who is constantly experiencing a stiff neck, tight traps, perhaps you're inhibited from looking left or right, maybe more so one side to the other, today's video might really be very helpful for you. We've all had experiences where, say for instance, we're in the car and we look over our shoulder and all of a sudden our neck seizes up and then we're walking around with our shoulders near our ears for the next 2 or 3 days. So what I want to show you today is a couple of original strength resets that we use pretty much daily in the training at Renew and in my own training as well. And I'm going to deliver them to you in 2 different ways. Firstly, in a way that may contribute to this neck stiffness, and then I'm going to show you a way that will hopefully alleviate that. And if you can plug this second way in as something maybe as part of your movement practice on a day-to-day basis, and have that movement practice carry over into real life movement as well when you're in your day, you may find that this stiffness in your neck may, at the very least, dissipate a little bit. So I'll get straight into it. I'm going to show you two resets. The first is a prone head nod, and I'm going to show you a prone head turn. And I'm going to show you, firstly, a way of doing that might contribute to this neck stiffness. So, this prone position, just lay on my belly, I'm propped up on my elbows. Just tilt this down a little bit more for you. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to just start looking up and down like a yes nod. At the moment, if you can see in the video, I'm really only moving through maybe 2 or 3 vertebrae in my neck. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit more active in the floor. I'm going to try to elongate my spine, and I'm going to try to involve as many vertebrae as possible in this yes nod. Starting almost thinking about going vertebrae by vertebrae as I curl my head up and unravel it. As opposed to, I'll touch more on this in a second. So then we get to a head turn. I'm going to start to look over my shoulder, trying to spot my foot. And first I'm going to do it in a similar fashion to what I was doing before. You'll see I'm probably just tilting through 2 or 3 vertebrae, a couple of vertebrae in the spine, in my cervical spine. And now I'm going to move into a more, move this out of the way, where I'm going to let my spine follow my neck. So I'm incorporating a lot more vertebrae in the movement. So that's your prone yes nod and no nod or find your feet. So when I'm cueing these things, when I'm teaching people these movements, we talk about the 3 S's. And the first S is to use your strength. So when I'm in that prone position there, I can either be passive, not use my strength and really sink into the floor, okay? Or I can use my strength to be a little bit more active in the floor, okay? The second S is to create space. So if I'm not using my strength and I'm collapsed, I've got less room to move. There's less room for my vertebrae to move. If I use my strength, I have also created space. If I think about elongating my spine, I create even more space. And the goal of that, creating the space, is that we can then spread the load. So instead of putting the hammer on 1 or 2 vertebrae, I can start to incorporate multiple joints in my spine to create this head movement, which is going to make much less wear and tear on the spine overall than if I'm just moving with only a couple of the vertebrae in mine. It starts to jack them up. If I took this and let's pretend I'm sitting in the car and typically hanging the steering wheel, and I look over my shoulder and I'm all jammed up, and then all of a sudden I feel the neck go on this side. As opposed to if I just get a little bit taller imagine like I'm trying to create space between each vertebrae and look up and over. Therefore, I'm incorporating a lot of my upper back, my T-spine, into the movement. It's assisting my head to turn further. It's much less likely I'm going to get jammed up through here. So those 3 S's of using your strength, and if you're sitting up, it's to get tall, to create space, to spread the load, so you're using more and more vertebrae as opposed to 1 or 2. So I just wanted to touch base on that quickly today because it's one I see a lot. You know, when I do my movement screens and just in general, that people tend to live with their shoulders up here a lot of the time, and a lot of the time that's just a protection mechanism that the body has put in place or is enforcing because it doesn't want you to move because you've been hammering those couple of joints. If you can start to practice on the floor with these head nods and turns, correct movement, then over time and sometimes very quickly, you'll find that you're going to get new ranges of motion without pain or with less pain than you have in a long time. So that is my Tonic Thursday tip, and I'll be back next week with another one. Hope that helps. Cheers, guys.